20th of October, in the year of our Lord, 1901. It is with an awful, crushing finality that I do make this entry.
Ocean. I think we're being watched.
Doctor Who. Cryptobiosis. Starring Colin Baker and Nicola Bryant.
In August 2003, a company called Big Finish Productions, who produce a regular series of Doctor Who audio plays, put a feature on their website for open submissions for new writers. And having been a semi-professional writer for a long time, I thought it would be an opportunity to get that break I was looking for. So I put together an idea and I submitted it to them, along with 600 other hopefuls around the country. Their writers that they had were actually moving over to write the Doctor Who TV series. So it would appear they're actually looking to replace their bank of writers. And I was one of the lucky ones that was picked to write a story out of, I think, 500 submissions they got in the end. About 4 months later, they came back to me and said they liked my idea, but didn't want to do it as a Doctor Who episode. They thought it was too theatrical and too visual for an audio play.
Yeah.
So I was slightly disappointed, but at the same time quite relieved that it was too good for them. And they suggested instead that I wrote it for another another series they do called Beneath Summerfield. And she's a Lara Croft type archaeologist in the 26th century or something. I wasn't particularly keen on the character, and I was quite disappointed I wasn't writing a Doctor Who. However, I repitched the idea as a play for this character, and they came back and said, actually, we want you to write it for Doctor Who after all, and want you to write, rather than 4 25-minute episodes, want you to write 1 60-minute episode, and we want you to have just the Doctor and his companion and 4 characters. So I'd written a 100-page treatment, which would have been 100 or so, 120 minutes, which had to cut out most of that to put it into an hour and still make sense of the plot, and cut out half the characters. And the reason being, it was actually for a subscriber-free CD. So if you subscribe to the range of CDs online, you got a free CD, and mine was the one that was due out in a couple of years. So I put I repitched it as an hour-long episode, and they asked me to write it with Colin Baker in mind, who was in the role on television in the mid-80s. And I did that and sent off my repitched submission, and didn't hear anything for about 9-10 months. I thought, okay, that's it, there we go. And in July 2005, I suddenly got a call out of the blue and said, we love your submission, we love your pitch, could you write it, and could you write it by the end of the month? And that gave me about 2 weeks. Bearing in mind I have a full-time job as well.
Yeah, how long did it take you to write the original script?
The original pitch, which was a 4-page treatment of basically what happens from beginning to end, that took me probably about 2.5 to 3 weeks to put down, and I went through about 5 or 6 drafts just of the treatment itself. And then when I came to write the script proper, it probably took me, ironically, probably about shorter than the draft itself, because I had the plot already plotted out, and the actual script probably a week and a half. But part of the agreement was I had to read it out live with 1 or 2 people with me, which was quite amusing, and lots of fun was had, and
I
think it took us about 2 days to read the whole thing when it was only 60 minutes. And I went up to see a friend in Glasgow, and we read it and literally tore the whole thing apart, and we started again from scratch. So about 3 or 4 drafts later of the script, I sent it off to them, and within days they came back and said, this is the recording date, which was the 19th of August 2005, remember it well, momentous day for me. And they invited me up to the recording as well.
Okay, so what's the story called?
The story's called Cryptobiosis.
And where is it set?
It's set on board a steamship in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean in 1901.
Okay, so you went up to record it with Colin
Yes, Colin Baker and his companion Nicola Bryant, who plays Perry.
Right.
And it was a small studio up in Stockwell. But as soon as I got into the studio in Stockwell, I met the actors and the producer and director, and then it took us, well, it took them rather, a day to put the whole thing together.
So were you involved, how were you involved when you were actually recording it?
Well, it's an audio recording studio, obviously, and there's booths, so all the actors will stand in their separate booths. Sometimes they will stand together if they're doing a scene together. Most of the time they're in separate booths across a small corridor, but you can see through the windows at the recording desk. So I was sitting at the recording desk with the producer, director, a guy called Gary Russell, who has been involved in the world of Doctor Who for far too many years than he probably cares to remember, and the engineer, the sound engineer as well. So it's the three of us sitting along the recording desk, and I was just sitting at back, obviously not really knowing how this worked, and just watching what they do, and probably being quite naive about it as well. But because I was there and I was the writer, which was an odd thing to get used to, them calling me, "Oh, the writer's here, let's ask him." Whenever Colin Baker or the cast had a problem, or they didn't quite understand what I was trying to get in the script, it was a case of, "Elliot, what does this mean? Or can we change that?" And Gary Russell would always say to me, "Are you happy with those changes? If not, say no." So it's very much an open kind of forum. So the script as recorded wasn't necessarily the script as written, the locked script as they call it.
And how did the actors, Colin Baker, how did they view the script? Did they like it?
They were very, very complimentary actually. It was quite surprising because it was my first writing of that nature. I've never written a play before. I've done lots of articles and so on, but never really actually a fictional piece. And my first professional fictional piece. And they were very complimentary. And Colin Baker said it was a very gripping story and had a very interesting plot to it. And the script itself, he said, was very fast and very fluid. And that was what I was trying to get at. I had 60 minutes to tell a story, so I didn't have a time or the chance to elaborate on great piece of characterisation or dialogue or scene setting. I had to get the scene in, the scene had to say what it needed to say, and get out of the way for the next scene to come in. And they all picked up on that, and the actors certainly enjoyed the momentum, which is why they probably recorded it so quickly.
So it was done well.